it showed what I was showing, but it didn't have any sound, and I can't figure out why that is. In any case, I have the 10-minute chart of B here. It had just broken out of this level. Looks like it's maybe going to put in a little doji sandwich on this 10-minute time frame here. Going back to the daily chart, this looks really nice, like it can go at least back up to this level here. It pierced through it on March 5th, but you can see that that's about right where the level is from back here in November, and it kept that as resistance. As long as we're here, I might as well show you, Lance, something that I've shown many of the other members that have been joining me with me before. This is my TC2000 Platinum version, and I run scans over here. You can probably see this. This is how I find charts. I have different scans in here, but I also will get charts from people who send them. Oh, for whatever reason, Gigi always needs the code. Where is that code? It's here. I think it's that one. So I have this, get rid of that, These scans over here. This is the volume surge scan. I really like running this one first thing in the morning, right at between 9:30 and 9:35, because I can see which stocks have volume coming in. You're welcome. Can you hear me, Gigi? Are you in? Are you in, darling? We were just looking at the beat. La-da-da-da-dee. La-da-da-da-da. No, you're not in, obviously, because I don't see you in. Oh, well, here we go. Oh, there you are. Ta-da. Hi, Gigi, can you hear me? Sir Golfa, do you hear me? I have it so that the volume, so that nobody else can talk. Questions you should ask in chat. There's also another chat on the thing itself, the software program itself. But the reason for that is we get 8-10 people talking at once, and that's an issue. So instead we do it where I talk and you guys ask questions in chat, and then I can answer the questions live like this. I just missed a call from Laura. I'm not sure why. I can also bring this over into the screen and you can see it, but I don't think it's necessary because you all have it as well. So I can just read those chats, and if you have a specific chart or ticker that you want me to put up here and analyze for you and chart out for you, I'm happy to do that. And in fact, that's quite often how I get ideas, is from people sending them to me. I have more members who are just on email than members who come into the chat room. I'm not really sure why that is, but that seems to be an appeal to lots of members who are members of this service. What kind of questions can you ask? What kind of questions would you like to ask? Usually it's like, what do you think of such and such chart? But how do you scan? What do you think of this? Why is this your trigger? Whatever it is. In your case, it's probably, will you sing The Beat Goes On for me? So anyway, for whatever reason, I think it's because it's more of a swing trading service. I don't do so much of the day trading. In fact, I do no day trading virtually unless I need to get out of something that doesn't work. And so people can just follow me by email. Kisses back at you, Gigi. People can just follow me by email, and I think a lot of the folks just do that. Folks who are more interested in a more one-on-one learning experience come into the chat room and chat with me in private chat. There's folks who chat with me in private chat who never come into the chat room. I actually have one email member who's been a member for, I don't know, 6 months who has never been on Skype with me. So it's beyond me how people choose what they want to get out of this service. But I am here, and I'm going to go over how I do these scans. So this is my volume surge scan. It literally tells me what stocks have volume surging into them, and I can set up this slideshow. Look at that, FLML. A little light though last week. See, the thing is that my minimum volume is generally 200K, but it looks at an average minimum by, I think, on the day that I'm running the scan. So sometimes I have to be careful and watch and take a look at what this volume is to make sure that they're not too thin. The software here, the TC2000, also has a slideshow tool, and it will literally just take me through all of these charts running at about 6 seconds between. I can change that if I want to. And I can take a look, and I can just watch these charts go by. I don't usually do that with the volume surge chart, because this is when I usually run first thing in the morning to see where volume's coming into charts. Sometimes those can be some great catches first thing in the morning. There's our Soon. Look how nice Soon looks. So this is the volume surge. I also have I have a whole list of scans that I've put together, and sometimes people send me different formulas to try for scans, and sometimes they work well and sometimes they don't. So you see I have a J-hook scan, I have an EMA short scan, I have an EMA scan, I have all these different combinations. Sometimes the breakout scan can be pretty nice. So here we are back to looking at these. Now that looks like a cradle. Let's take a look at that. I'll sometimes move that over here. That looks like a cradle because you have this flush down. Well, even though that's not a doji, you have several dojis across and then this move up. That definitely looks like it. Does it do volatility stop? Does it do volatility stop? I'm not sure I understand the question. Please rephrase that so that I understand it better. Does it do volatility stop? Huh. A little confused. Please let me know Gigi, if you have any understanding of that question, please feel free to chime in. I don't think I understand the question. So at this point, this is the chart that's going through. The MS looks nice. And it's just going through what it thinks are breakouts. Quite often they're not necessarily breakouts, but just barely see it. That's clearly not a breakout, but it does tend to pull up some nice looks. That's a nice look right there. That one is breaking out today. ALTR. Looks like it has some nice volume in there. And it's a nice sort of a scoop pattern. It has this flat handle with this rounded area in here, this scoop in here, and then back up through the T-line. So anyway, so that's what I do. I will run these different scans. I'll usually run them at night, except for that volume surge scan, and see what looks like it's setting up. I will also run them, in the middle of the day when markets start looking bearish. I'll run my shorts scan, which, as you can see, is not giving me much at this point. But the market is, take a look, doing well. So this, I think, is a really nice comeback from yesterday's volatility sell-off. Who did I lose here? Oh, I lost TJ. Lost TJ. What happened? Oh, he's back. Okay. You're back. What happened? What happened? Okay, the volatility stop, green dot, red dot trading system. Oh, I don't know. I don't use that. So I don't know. That's a good question, though. Do you use that? Have you used that before? More later, yes. Okay. No, I don't know. I don't use that. That's not something that I've ever used. Have you ever used that, Gigi? Green dot, red dot, stop, green dot, red dot trading system? Volatility stop, green dot, red dot trading system. I've never even heard of it. Not really sure. You'll explain later. Okay. Gigi, have you heard of that? Do you know what that is? Let's see if he answers there. So just going to go ahead and go through the stocks that I have in my portfolio. And that's always a good place to start. And you can see what I'm thinking and what I'm looking at there. So the first one is SUNE. This is looking fabulous. Clearly has an area of resistance in here. But it is J-hooking nicely. You can see that it's, oops. See, now that's the problem with the repeat thing. With the repeat thing is it repeats too much. All right, let's get rid of that. So you get the idea anyway. J-hooking. Looking to break this top line of resistance here. When it does the J-hook breakout, if and when it does the J-hook breakout. You love hookers. I know you do, JJ. Have you heard of this volatility stop, green dot, red dot trading system? Mr. Golfer, sir? Mr. Flirty Man, sir? VXX is a short. We were talking about this. I especially love J-hookers, too. This is something that I brought up the other day as well, Lance, and I think it was your first time hearing me talk about this, but if you look at this VXX chart, you will notice that it, as we come out here, perpetually just goes down. Yes, red light, green light. I mean, red light, green light, that to me sounds like my trend timer, but I don't think it is. My light goes red and my light goes green, depending on the overall trend in the markets. VXX perpetually goes down. Even when we have huge corrections in the market, VXX tends to go down over the long term. It will certainly spike when we're having those corrections. But eventually volatility will always come out of the market. Now, if you look at a VIX chart, VIX does not always necessarily go down. It kind of goes sideways. But because those products, VXX and XIV, are because of decay, that's right, they sell the volatility and they decay. In the case of XIV, what they're doing, I used to think they bought puts, and I realize now what they do is they short the calls. So they're shorting a derivative. If you go long XIV or if you go short VXX, either way, you're shorting the derivative of the VIX. And because volatility always collapses, it will always eventually come down. As opposed to, for example, I think that some of the bear ETFs, certainly when they're leveraged, when they're 2x and 3x, they will eventually always go down because of decay. But if you're just following the market trend, it won't necessarily always go down over the long term. But because you have the two things working here, the decay and the fact that volatility always comes out. Volatility comes in and it always comes out. And then when it comes out, basically it loses more height, if you will, whenever that comes out, and it falls to an even lower level. So I'm in this short VXX. You know, I think that it's just a kind of a no-brainer. It always eventually goes down. XIV is a safer trade because you won't get a margin call. I used to think that if you shorted VXX that you kept decay more in your favor, but as I've come to realize what these guys are actually doing after looking into it, they're shorting the calls, and so they manage to keep the decay in their favor as well. SWHC, you know, this just really seemed like such a great trade with, let's go back to the daily chart, with the fact that, you know, we were possibly going to have war with Russia, it seemed like to make sense that that this would also have that aspect going for it. Certainly, the chart looks good. It still looks good here. It gapped up from this doji, creating a trader's best friend, and it gapped up through all those moving averages after supporting strongly on the 200-day moving average. Now it's facing out, but it's riding along the ADMA really nicely. So as long as it's sitting on top of this ADMA like this, I'm thinking it's going to pop, and it's going to get higher, and it's going to come back up to this swing high in here. Maybe this, probably this to start, 1471, which is still kind of a decent move even from here. But as long as this has this look in here, it's kind of sort of this not really a cup and handle. I mean, we tend to make some sloppy cup and handles, maybe sort of an inverse head and shoulders. Kind of have a shoulder there and a head here, and then maybe this is your right shoulder in here. But certainly it's a bullish pattern, and as long as it's sitting above the ADMA, and I believe that this is just consolidating this move higher from the trader's best friend, which by the way was a term that was coined by Stephen Bigelow, and is likely to come back up and go higher in here. So I have no issues holding stuff. I find that when you trade in and out of stuff too quickly, and that's something that J.C. Peretz article that I posted, was it yesterday or the day before, touched upon. It was, he was talking about this study. I don't know if you clicked on that. If you read that article, he also had a link to the study itself, which was this Dutch study that was talking about people not doing very well as traders, as individual traders. They call them investors, but really they were day traders using options. So you have leverage, you have a lot of risk, and you have really short time frames. I've seen people who will, they'll get into something and they'll go really big, and they'll look at it on a 10-minute chart, or they'll look at it on a 5-minute chart, or a 3-minute chart even. And so here's SPY. So let's say I see SPY's doing this sort of thing, and it looks like it's consolidating, and so maybe I buy it here. Okay, it has a left, that's a TBF right there, or certainly a bullish signal after this doji, and I get in some point in here, and when it pulls back, I panic. Certainly into here, I'm panicking. I'm looking at this 3-minute chart. I'm like, oh my God, it's selling off, and this is what people do. And it's just pulling back because stocks don't move in a straight line. They zig, they zag, they wax, they wane, ebb and flow. And as you can see, this has ended up breaking out again here. And we're looking at this SPY on a 3-minute chart. And you see, it's just too much movement. And obviously yesterday we had this huge bit of volatility that came in because of Janet speaking, and then put in this, in the end, bullish W pattern that we're now breaking out of. But people look at this stuff, and they will tend to look at these really short time frames, and it's just way too much volatility to look at. And I mean, I've seen folks get into charts that are perpetually going up. For example, here's BIG. Somebody told me yesterday that they read that somebody lost money on this yesterday because they were day trading. So let's just look at yesterday for a minute here. So I'm looking at this big chart. I'm in this big chart, okay? And I'm, let's say, maybe I get in, I don't know, I see this breakout here, or I see this breakout here, and I start to get in, and I panic whenever it pulls back, and I end up losing money. That's not me, but this is this person. Lost 38 cents on BIG yesterday. And it's because, you're not letting it, it moves, it zigs and zags, it waxes and wanes, and they do that because they're looking at too short of a time frame. And that can be a problem for a lot of traders who don't have a lot of experience and who are using technical analysis on a very short time frame, and they just shoot themselves. They wonder why they keep losing money. And you look at this, a chart like this, and so you put it on a longer time frame. Let's even look at it on the 10-minute time frame, looking at just yesterday. And I look at this and I'm like, how does anybody lose money? It's just gone up the whole day, right? So as you put these time frames out longer, you can see that it's, you know, let's look at the hourly, for example. Hourly just yesterday. So just March, look at it, it went up all day. But it does so still in movement, in zigzaggy movement. Each hour-long candle has you know, some movement in it, has a range in it. And a lot of these traders will come in here and they'll look at these short time frames and not look at the overall picture, and they lose money. They lose money in bullish charts. So looking at VIG on the daily chart. Hey Mel, can you hear me? Let me just check to see if Mel can hear me. Nice to see Mel here. You may need to you may need to download app. Click on the little phone icon to hear sound. So looking at this on the daily chart, I mean, it's just gorgeous, right? You have this cup and handle in here. This clear. This is a really nice cup and handle. This is not sort of one of those more sloppy ones. This is a really nice cup and handle, and you have this breakout of here yesterday after making this move on earnings. After this doji, you had this trader's best friend. There's the doji. There's the gap up through the 200-day moving average. Held that. I totally agree. You should always start with a good daily chart, even if you're going to trade intraday. And this was, you know, I think you were here, Gigi, when I was having that conversation with Coach. It was like a year ago, and he kept looking to go long these charts that were in a downtrend, and he was looking for this turnaround sort of pattern on the intraday. Yeah, it looks really beautiful. He kept looking for these turnaround patterns intraday, but he was in an overall chart that was in a downtrend, and he was trying to trade it long on the short term, and you know that wasn't working for him, and he didn't understand why that wasn't working for him. Looking for a 45-degree angle and VIG from here, I totally agree. You can see it's actually already starting. But my point was that even in a good chart like this, a day trader came into this yesterday and lost money, and they lost money because really they were looking at such a short time frame, and they were trading scared, and they were probably had too much leverage and too large of a position and too much at risk, and they're penny watching. And so that report, which was so interesting about that report from the Netherlands, that J.C. Peretz sort of wrote about after that report, which he was saying, you know, well, everything in that report is true. It's not a debunking of technical analysis. It's a debunking of technical analysis for inexperienced individual traders who are only trading on a short time frame, who are using leverage, who are putting on too much risk, and not looking at the overall picture and not looking at the overall trend, and they tend to not do as well as longer term investors, and the patience is key. One of the things that this, you know, this in particular, this Dutch writer wanted to say that therefore fundamental analysis work better because people sort of do buy and hold on fundamental analysis. Whether you're using fundamental analysis or technical analysis, I think that a combination keeps the best odds in your favor, and we all know that I think that. But if you're only using fundamental analysis, I've also seen, you know, fundy folks get into something and they just keep adding as it goes lower because they're so sure about their trade from a fundamental perspective, and they end up just adding to a snowball rolling downhill. And by the time it turns, they have this huge position, and you know, all these entries that they've managed to lower, but it's not a great entry. Why not wait till it's done going down on a chart and you actually see a reversal signal in the candlesticks? Even if you have fundamental analysis behind it, use the charts to make your decisions on where you get in and out. But people who buy and hold tend to do better than people who trade in and out. You know, I have lots of, you know, friends, people I would call friends, people with whom I've shared dinners with, who are day traders, and you know, they're really good day traders, but they're still not performing as well as I do, and they wonder why. And I think it's the time frame. I really do. Anyway, that's my feeling on there. Big looks great. Obviously, no reason to sell it here. I had, for some strange reason, I had a strange target listed on my portfolio for big. I don't know why. I've moved it to 39 because that's this swing high in here, 38.96. So I've gone ahead and put in 39 on my portfolio on the website. But my real target is above that. I just see that as some, you know, interim resistance, that it will stop there first. It might pause there first. Looking at big on a weekly chart, I have no idea if it's really interesting, isn't it? Look, it's putting in a doji sandwich here. I have no idea if Mal can hear me. I know Mal is in here. Mal, can you hear me? Measured move, cup and handle, very nice. I agree with you. And you can see that, you know, over the long run, it's basically has this same level of, wait, where's that trend line there? So I think that, you know, we're going to be looking at a level up in this area, but it's going to do that 45-degree angle too. So that, you know, it can get as high as 48 or so. Is that right? No. Maybe not quite 48. Where is it? 46.75. You know, once it breaks out of all of this move here. So I don't know if Mal can hear me at all. All right, can you hear me? Can you hear me in the join me? I have no idea. It's really interesting to look at this on the weekly chart too, though, because you can see that it's gotten through all of the weekly moving averages that I have listed here. So really interesting looking chart on the weekly, and just gorgeous on the daily. Okay, so going down, did we look at Skull? I don't think we looked at Skull. So here's Skull. This is a really interesting product because there are so many mixed feelings about this from a fundamental basis. But it's, you know, it's holding up. So I'm allowing it to continue and looking for that move back to that swing high of 1140. And from this level, you know, that's a really decent move. That's more than 10%, and I would be very happy with that. So as long as this is continuing to stay above this ADMA after it did this, it did the same thing. It had the doji and the gap up, but it didn't hold the gap. It pulled back. It sold off that first day, but it didn't sell all the way off back into the range, so it's not a bearish belt hold. But it did put in another bullish candle the next day and continue higher. Then it tested here and is, you know, still moving along the ADMA. I thought at this point that it was probably going to head back to that swing high right away. Clearly it needed to come back and test the ADMA and is now riding along the ADMA. You know, a lot of these charts are great examples of how well this ADMA works. I think it was Rick Sadler who came up with this idea while he was a student of Stephen Bigelow's, and he noticed that this 8 EMA, which is a Fibonacci number, most stocks tend to go up when above it and down when below it, and it's just such an easy trigger line to use and makes the analysis so much more simple. I think, you know, we can look at measured moves, and we can look at our RSI, and we can look at stochastics and MACD and Bollinger Bands and all these other things that are really in the end just indicators of price. and what price does. And this, whereas this ADMA is such as, combined with the candlestick patterns and signals is such a, oh nice, how long have you been here? Mal can hear me, yay! Hi Mal. It's such a nice trigger line because it really, really works. ADMA above 34 EMA plus buy signal. In this case, it is. Gigi also trades, oh, you've been here for 10 minutes. Great. You've been hearing me this whole time. Gigi also likes to trade something called a pinball strategy. Do you call that a strategy? Pinball pattern? What do you call that? But the idea is that something that's coming off of the ADMA, when the 34 EMA is higher, it will move from the ADMA to the 34 EMA. And Gigi can explain it a whole lot better. It's not something I really use much. But it doesn't tend to be, and sometimes it can be a fairly large move. But I think you have some software that finds those as well, right, Gigi? And software doesn't exist anymore, and I don't have it. So every so often you'll see Gigi post a chart, and he'll say, this is a pinball setup, and it's going to go to the 34 EMA, and it's a 12% move from here to the 34 EMA, and that can be a really nice setup. And so the target becomes the 34 EMA. I didn't even used to use the 34 EMA at all. It is another, thank you, Gigi. It is another Fibonacci number, and I didn't used to use it at all, and Gigi kept putting it on his charts, and I found after a while that it definitely provides support and resistance as well, that stocks definitely use that level. And so now I have it on my chart, and I started using it. I find it, I consider it a secondary indicator. ADMA is my first trigger point. The 50 and the 200 are right behind that, and I consider the 34 EMA and the 21 SMA to be secondary indicators. Okay, so there's Skull. We looked at Big. Let's look at Himax. Himax. How can I drop this when it keeps doing that? So it's on this trend, and this one I do have. So for those of you who don't know, my husband is a fundamental analyst, and I have learned quite a bit about fundamentals over the years. I actually started out in fundamentals before he did, really. I got a job working for a hedge fund as an accountant, and this money manager took me under his wing, and he taught me how to make models and how to do fundamental analysis, the basics of fundamental analysis. I hate making models, but for my husband, it's a breeze. So he is now a fundamental analyst, and he's quite good at it. The difference being that his time frames tend to be longer. He's almost always right, but he's not always right now. So that's my issue with fundamental analysis, and that's why I like to take fundamental analysis and combine it with charting. In this case, he is really gung-ho on this Himax. He thinks it has potential to do very, very well. And the chart was set up, so based on those two things, I went ahead and got in this. Where did I get in this exactly? March 10th, was that March 10th? Yeah, so I got in this on this breakout, and I have patience. So this told me it was breaking out, and his fundamental conviction on it allows me to, give it the room to move. It has a clear trend line here. You can see that this is a clear trend line, and it is adhering to that trend line. It also has, all of its moving averages are below, except for the ADMA today, because it's really sort of testing that. But these other moving averages in here are bunched together and providing support and are riding right along that trend line. So although today's move was officially a sell signal, it certainly went down from there. It opened here lower after a doji, and it did drop from there. So there's the confirmation of that sell signal. However, that could be it. So it bounced from there and is now, hanging out here above this trend line and sort of hugging the ADMA. It doesn't always quite stay above it, but it hugs it. So if this closes in here, as long as it's holding this trend, I will continue to give it some more time. It has not come near my stop level yet, so I'm only down 2%, and I'm willing to hold this for the long term, based on the combination of the fundamental analysis and the fact that the chart is holding up. CRME, I don't do a lot of drugs. I tend to stay away from drug charts, as Goofy Golfa knows, because he tends to. It's funny because Gigi has more patience holding drug stocks, and I don't. I don't have a lot of patience with drug stocks. I don't trust them. But I have much more patience with solar stocks. So SUNE is one that I think you've gotten in with me a couple times, and then you keep giving up on it. You lose patience. And my initial SUNE entry just hit 50% gains. So sun is good, solar is good for me. So I tend to have patience with solar stocks, and he tends to have patience with drug stocks. But that's okay. I've been having some patience with this drug stock. Pot ain't bad either. So I'm guessing I need to look at these. First of all, let's look at pot. Pot looks nice, actually. Pot ain't bad today. And that really looks nice, doesn't it? I like that look. See how it's sort of curving in here and then curving in here? Looks like it's going to probably take this up higher. Now that it's through this 200-day moving average, which was acting as resistance back in January. So I think this is one to keep on watch here. Yeah, a sloppy one, a sloppy cup and handle. And that's what I say again, is like, some cup and handles are really, when you look at big, there is no question about that cup and handle, right? It's not sloppy at all. Whereas this POT cup and handle is a little bit sloppy, but it's definitely one to watch here. I think we can keep an eye on this. We probably need to break through this level up here before we see it go any further. SPY is trying to form a bullish engulfing, you say? Not quite yet, but I hear you. It's a nice candle. It's a nice bullish candle, and we are clearly continuing on this J-hook trajectory. Markets got that volatility yesterday, which allowed Sylvan to add more XIV. I'm sure he's very happy about that, because he added it right at he added it here yesterday. That was an amazing move, actually. Trying, you said trying. Well, it is trying indeed. Indeed, it is trying. Okay, back to CRME. So CRME, I got into this over here initially, took some good profits on it up in here when it gave me this sell signal here, and then waited, and I've been back in it a couple times. These profits were so good that the small losses that I've taken when I've dumped it on a couple occasions have not given that back yet. They say yet because anything can happen. But at this point, I'm still positive in my realized gains on this. This is another one that a friend of mine who is not normally a fundamental analyst, who is an exceptional trader, who was a mentor of mine, who is no longer mentoring traders. His name is Danny. He was known as Spider Crusher, and he's actually the person who really instilled in me the idea of a market timer, of my market, of being either red or green in the market, of the overall market being red or green, and not pressing longs in a distributive market and not pressing shorts in a strong market. I've heard folks say, well, but it's 80-20, it's the 80-20 rule. Even when it's a down market, 20% of stocks still go up. I don't want to be on the 20 side of 80-20 because I want to keep the odds in my favor. I want to be on that 80 side of 80-20. So, and that that I have found has really, really improved my results over the years. Danny and I met some years ago, and he actually has a software program that he developed with Warden Brothers Stock Finder, which I don't think you can. I don't know if you can get it anymore or not. I'm a little bit confused about that. I actually have it, but I think he still is willing to sell that software, but for a whole lot of money, and he's looking to sell it to like hedge funds and stuff. So he no longer offers that to the general public. But it created for me the idea of really, using my analysis, my candlestick analysis of the overall market, and I find I could time his timer with quite a bit of accuracy by using candlestick analysis, which, unfortunately sort of knocks his software out of the selling market. But because if I could do it with candlesticks, why do I need to buy his software? But I am able to do it with candlesticks, fortunately, and with a fair degree of accuracy. And so this CRME, back to the CRME, he alerted me that this was, breaking out of this area, but more importantly, he had some fundamental ideas about this, and he was very, very, very gung-ho about it. And I don't think ever seen him get so excited about fundamentals. He's one of these guys who's most fundamental analysts hate technical analysis, and most technical analysts hate fundamental analysis. I'm rare in the fact that I use both. And he's usually one of those people who make fun of fundamental analysts for getting into stocks, when they're on their way down and not using technical analysis to gain their trades. So when he came to me and he said he was very, very excited about this from a fundamental perspective, and the chart was set up, I've been looking at this. And I've been trading it, and I've been trading it mostly profitably. This is not normally something I would get into because the volume was so low out here in 2012 or 13 rather, and early 2014. I do take solace in the fact that there's plenty of volume in this now. So I think that once you get into something that has enough volume, once enough volume comes in, now that volume's there. If it really drops out, then that could be a problem. But for right now, I'm just going to keep holding this. It still looks like it's setting up in this triangle here. And it's a combination of fundamental and technical analysis. It's not my fundamental analysis, but this is somebody whose ideas I really, really respect. I did have my husband do a model on this. You won't tell? Thanks. I did have my husband do a model on this, and he agreed with Danny that this had some good potential as far as value and with all the announcements that they're making. So we have this nice triangle in here. I have these little double bottom circles in there as well. But just looking for either a breakout or a breakdown of this triangle. So as long as it sits like this on the ADMA and I'm not sitting in heavy losses, I'm happy to hold it and give it time to work. Maxwell got into the other day when it made, where did we get into this? On 318, when it broke, started to come out of this J-hook, creating this J-hook here. Clearly was rejected after breaching this swing high, but this is still a really nice J-hook looking pattern in here. And once I get into something based on technical analysis, but this is also another one, by the way, that my husband is very excited about this fundamentally. So again, this is a combination of a fundamental analysis and technical analysis. He was actually getting annoyed when it was doing this here because I think we watched it and we missed it. Right, we missed that breakout. By the time we saw it, it was like up here somewhere, and then it was extended. So it was hard to get into as it was making this move, unfortunately. But it came back down and tested the ADMA really nicely, created this sort of rounded pattern, and I got into it here after it confirmed this close 1323, open, after it confirmed this trader's best friend right here, which is this doji followed by this gap up. That confirmed in here. That's when I got into it, and it's still working in this area here. So why do I have this line up here? I guess that's the top of volume at price. Yeah, that's the top of volume at price out here. So possible, you know, churning until it gets through that 1730 area. But as long as it holds this ADMA, I will go ahead and hold it. My entry is such that my risk is low compared to my reward, because I managed to get in fairly close to the ADMA. So sitting in a gain in this, actually, of 2.5%. It was almost up to 10% on the first day. I could have taken half, but it happened so quickly and sold back down a bit. But that's okay. I'm happy to hold this and let it work. Next one is JZO. This is another one that they went profitable on their earnings call. Was that earlier this week or last week? Well, this day, whatever this day was, right? So they had their earnings call and they went profitable, and they should be going much higher based on the fact that they went profitable as a company for the first time. For whatever reason, it's struggling to get back up to that point or get higher from that to that point. One of the reasons might be the currency. As I was mentioning in the room, this one reports in Chinese currency, and some of the others report in U.S. currency. And because Chinese currency has been taking a beating, that has also reflected in some of those stocks that report in that money. Kind of makes sense, but it's also kind of dumb, and it's really just algorithms who are trading it based on those reports, because when they translate it into U.S. dollars and it looks lower, but it's not really lower. It's just weird. Crazy, because those other companies like TSL, also a Chinese company, it's also based in China, but they report in U.S. dollars. So you can see this one's not having that issue. This is also a really nice setup, actually, and it's on this trend line here, and it's got this nice curved bottom in here. I don't know why I have that there. TSL is one that went positive. As a profitable as a company. I think it was somewhere in here when they went profitable sometime late summer, fall, whenever that earnings report was. That was the first time they reported being profitable, and it's nearly doubled from that point. So, or it has doubled really from that point, from that breakout point. And so that's the expectations with JZO, that it can do the same thing. CSIQ, Canadian Solar, is another one that also, they went profitable back here last spring, early summer area, and then broke out from there. And that's, as you can see, is like a, what do you call that? Quintuple, right? Like, I mean, it just clearly took a big move. So that's what I'm looking for in this JZO. And I'll give it the room, as long as it's bouncing off this clear resistance. What was previous resistance is now support in here area, and also coinciding with the ADMA, and it bounced off of there. And again, it came close to my threshold, my limit, but sitting in less than 4% losses on that. I'm looking to make well over double that in gains, probably quadruple that in gains. So I'm willing to give this time to work as well. Unfortunately, what this all does, though, is it gives me a full port, and it doesn't allow me to get into some of these other great stocks that folks have been getting into. Okay, we'll take a look at that ISR in just a second. GGAL, this kind of is this is like a flat handle and then a scoop in here. But it was kind of, if you pull out, it's kind of a cup and handle in here. Like I said that, cup and handle to scoop breakout. So here's your cup, here's your handle, and then it's scooped. A scoop is a flat handle with a dip. as opposed to a J hook, which comes up off of an uptrend and then dips and comes back up. Scoop is a flat handle and a dip, and it's trying to break out of this area here. But again, the setup is there. It's staying above the ADMA. It did not close as a bearish engulfing yesterday, which I think was the concern at one point. So I have no issues with letting this work. Like I know some of you guys are in key. This was such a beautiful setup, and I know that JJ cut in, I think, over here, which was really nice. And then you had this doji sandwich from yesterday, clearly confirming today. It was also a TBF with this doji followed by the gap up. A really nice J hook. If we pull out, it's a nice cup and handle pattern. Fairly smooth cup and handle pattern. A little jiggy here, but fairly smooth cup and handle pattern. This looks great. If I didn't have a full port, I would totally got into this. So, excellent trade there, you guys. ISR, oh, actually what we can do is, wow, we were looking at this yesterday. That's just crazy, isn't it? But here's something that I'm able to do. I'm able to put Gigi's charts up here so that, I should have looked up and put yours on earlier. We can look at what Gigi's looking at here on this 15-minute chart. I don't tend to go to the 15. I tend to go to the 10. And I think that is simply because I got that from studying Stephen Bigelow, who tends to go to the 10 when he goes in a shorter term chart. I know TOS more readily offers the 15-minute. To get on a 10-minute, you kind of have to do a little more work. So I think it's easier. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gigi. The reason that you tend to use the 15 when you go shorter term is because it tends to be an easier chart to get to from TOS. But clearly, you see this J hook in here broke out of this triangle in here on this 15-minute chart. I would tend to go to the 10-minute. Oh, look at that beat go. La-da-da-da-dee. Okay, so beat has broken out of this. We talked about the fact that it was J hooking in here on the 10-minute, and now it's broken out of that as well. So that's looking really nice. ISR on the 10-minute chart. See, that's you can really see. I like the 10. I think I can see my J hooks are clearer on the 10 than the 15, but both work. Clearly breaking out of this J hook in here. See what it does here with that ADMA on the 10-minute chart. Nice. Okay. I'm getting messages from my husband. What is he saying? Nothing. No, wrong. Oh, First Solar's at 73. He actually was in First Solar call yesterday, and he closed it early. This is pretty amazing, though. That was a pretty amazing breakout yesterday, and this is also continuing. What does this look like on a 10-minute chart? As long as we're looking at, that reminds you of that ISR a little bit, right? So again, you have this. Here's this 10-minute chart, and you can see that it sort of came up, and I don't know if it's kind of a sloppy J hook, or maybe it's, in any case, it had this level of resistance here, and that has since broken out above 71.40 or so. So really nice. Thank you, Goofy, for providing the pinball stuff from Rick. That's great for those who want to look at that. Gigi has posted it both in the chat room as well as in this chat here. Going higher. Look at this 10-minute chart. It's just so bullish. Look at this. This doji sandwich here confirmed. Right, and then it's putting in some dojis here to sort of work off the overbought condition, but it's going to confirm and keep going. Fortunately, I was already in a full port when you realized that this was going to do this. The big fish that got away. My husband's saying it's the big fish that got away because he had it and he let it go. And I told him he was getting jiggy. I told him sell half, Let it run. Don't sell the whole thing. But did he listen to me? No. Silly man that he is. All right, let's take a look at beat on the. Let's look at it on the daily. La da 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 dee. La da da da. Gorgeous candle, isn't it? Again, this is one that, you know, when Gigi pointed it out, and then I put out this chart. It could have been bought right there, and that was, you know, where was that? How long ago was that? Certainly, you know, lower than it is now. Somewhere in this area here, right? And it's still going, and it's going to probably continue to this, you know, 1190 area, 1180 to 90 area. And that's a decent trade there. Really nice, really nice. Drum beats pounding the rhythm to the brain. Gigi likes it when I do that. Okay, any charts that anybody would like me to put up? Anything you'd like to look at specifically? Mal, I think you missed earlier, and I believe you're using free stock charts. And when we first got in here today, I pointed out that I use the scanners. Free stock charts is the free version of this. It won't work for you as well intraday, but I will usually run these scans at night and then run the slideshow tool, which is what it's doing now. I've run this minimum volume scan, and it's now running the slideshow tool. And I will just let it slide through charts. I can sit here, I can do a bunch of other things, and we're watching these charts, and when I see something I like, then I'll take it and chart it out separately. So let's say BK is there. I decide I want to look at BK a little closer. This broke out nicely yesterday. Where were we? Well, it's, you know what, it's doing the same thing as a lot of these smaller banks are doing. If you use TOS, what? Where are you? Got to run, have lunch, engagement. Thanks for lesson, very interesting. Oh, my pleasure, Mel. Have a good lunch. If you use TOS, I have a code that shows EMA boxes as well as calculations for 54 EMA, 200 SMA. Oh yeah, that's cool. You know, I don't have that, but what I do have here that I like is, and this helps me to decide actually whether or not I want to get into a trade. I can put this on an arithmetic, logarithmic, or logarithmic chart, or I can put it so that it scales percentage-wise. And when it scales percentage-wise, what it's telling me is, you know, in this case it's 2.5%. So between each number here, 3311 and 3394, that's 2.5%. So that helps me, gives me a really nice, so like, let's say I've got something else. Let's see, something that moves a little bit more. So here's Canadian Solar, and it moves a bit more. As I come in, of course, these scales go down, so these numbers go down. But this, you know, between each number of scales, so between 3645 and 3827 is 6%. So that, you know, I can get a really good idea of, by adding the numbers, okay, if I think it's going to come up to here, what is that percentage? I think that probably Gigi's little box is easier because he doesn't have to do any calculation, but this works for me. So I really like this software program. I've tried using I have TOS as well. As Gigi knows, I do trade my options in TOS, but I don't like the charts as well. I like these charts better. But that's, you know, it's all about personal preference, I think, and it depends on you. Okay, any other questions or charts or anything that anybody would like to look at? I've just got this software tool, the slideshow tool running. CAVM, that's a nice breakout there. Look, see, and then I see that, and then I might go back over, and then I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to put in CAVM, and I'm going to look at that. I'm going to say, wow, that's a nice looking chart, and I'm going to start charting it out here. That's definitely a breakout of that. Longer term is not, I don't think it's really a cup and handle pattern, but it's kind of a cup and handle pattern in there. Let's take a quick look at the weekly. Weekly looks decent, coming up on some resistance on the weekly chart, so that's something to bear in mind. So this is what I would do. I mean, I think that it's, you know, it's clearly moved a bit too far today to get into, but could have been entered as it broke out right above 45, and then that would be, you know, you'd be sitting in gains already as it goes higher. There's a nice looking chart. So that's what I do. I let this run, and when I see stuff that looks nice, the CRZO looked nice, right? Looks interesting. Look where it's charting out. I clearly already had a trend line in there prior, and it's breaking out of that trend line in here after J hooking in here. It's a nice looking chart. So then I'm going to go take a look at the weekly, see what kind of resistance there is on the weekly. I see nothing out here. Okay, some resistance way up here. You're looking at big move to $75, $76. Otherwise, there's nothing really in there giving me any other resistance. How far is it from the ADMA at this point? 52.44 from 50.47, so that's you know, $3 on a $50 chart, clearly less than 5%. And then I might go to a shorter time frame to look for an entry. So there was definitely entries in here, and could be continue being watched. Sure, TRLA. I'm sorry, I think you had said that earlier, and I dropped the ball on that. TRLA. I clearly had thought that it was going to do something in here that it didn't do. So let's get rid of that older charting stuff. So I'm not crazy about this. Let's see, how far away is that? 37, 35. So a little less than 10% to the 200-day moving average. 200-day may or may not prove to be resistance. Some charts you can really see that it's resistance, and in others it seems to just slice through in either direction. Overall, it's still in a downtrend, which was probably my mistake the last time I was charting it, and I thought I saw that inverse head and shoulder. Although it's trying to break out of this downtrend right in here. But it will have that resistance at the 200. Kind of looks like a bullish W pattern in here. And it filled this gap from in here. Yeah, you know, I think there's better charts out there right now. You can certainly watch it, keep it on watch, see if it breaks out of this downtrend, but you're going to have that 200-day there that might provide resistance. Looking on the weekly, yeah, it's in a downtrend. See, I was looking for that breakout of that inverse head and shoulders, but it was just in a downtrend. It just didn't even, that was like this here, right? But it just didn't even do that. Couldn't break through this downtrend. So currently this is still in a downtrend, and I think it has some work to do before it looks good as a long trade. But it doesn't look like a short trade either, because it certainly has the ADMA supporting. It's above the 50-day moving average at this point. I just don't have an edge here really in either direction. So not my favorite chart. KORS, K-O-R-S. I like this. I like that look. Somebody else mentioned this today. I don't know who it was, but I do like that look. Oh, it was you. Clearly, it's not ready. It needs to get out of this range. So you have a clear range here that it's just sort of sitting in this range, right? And it needs needs to do something. And I wouldn't want to buy it until it got out of this range, because at this point it's just still going sideways. And it's not giving you any indication that it's going to scoop up. If this were, that's pretty flat, if this were to put in like a scoop pattern, then maybe I would buy it as it came back up through the ADMA. Or I would buy this if it broke out of this. So a Bollinger Band squeeze, okay. Let's take a look at Bollinger Band. Where am I seeing where to add another? What the heck? No. This kind of changed some of this stuff, and now I can't. Add indicator, there it is. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see that. Well, and that's understandable. It's because it's, you can see it in the chart, right? It's going flat. It's coiling. Another term I've heard folks use, they like to use, is that it's coiling, because it's putting in this really, really tight action, and at some point it's going to break through. But I wouldn't buy it until it did, because you don't know which way it's going to break through. It looks overall bullish since it's coming off of an uptrend, and it has. That just distracts me. I'm going to actually take it out. It's coming up off of an uptrend, and it has consolidated that. And again, the Bollinger Band, just like all indicators, is just another indication of price. It's telling you that this has gone up, and it had this big Bollinger Band, area in here when it was expanding, and then as it's consolidated, those Bollinger Bands start to squeeze. It started to coil. It started to base out and consolidate and sort of stay in this tight range. So I think this will break out to the upside, but I wouldn't buy it until it did. You keep it on watch. You can put a alert on it. You can even put a buy stop on it, and say, okay, when it gets above, basically at this point, if it breaks above, you're looking at 100 here. See, so it's going to do the Hundy roll, or it was already at 100 probably up here, right? Yeah. So it stopped at 100 basically. So it needs to get through that with some conviction, I think. Some folks have heard me say if it goes to 9, it'll go to 10. So it's the same thing with 100, right? The $100 roll, the Hundy roll, if it goes to 90, it'll go to 100. So it did. It went to 90 when it was coming up here, and then it went to 100, and then it stopped, basically, as it got through 100. Okay, Bollinger DIA, 60-minute cut. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take a look at yours. The diamond is doing a nice mind and fingers not in sync. Sorry, forming bullish engulfing on mind and fingers not in sync. Okay. Oh, I see you're bullish engulfing. Let's go ahead and make that full size. Oops. I made it too big now. Grr. Come on, smaller. Okay. Oh yes, that is definitely a bullish engulfing. Bullish engulfing. Let's see. I think I'm assuming yes. Yes. Very bullishimo. There was the cup and handle from way back when. Speaking of cup and handles, now it's the extension of that. We can take all this stuff out here. But definitely a very nice bullish index there. And SPY is also now 66, a bullish engulfing. So there you have it. How are the other ones looking? The IWM, not quite there, but still a really nice J-hook pattern above the ADMA. It confirmed this doji sandwich in here. See the larger candle, the doji, and then the larger candle. Also, I think that's also that's also a trader's best friend, because it gapped up from the doji. And then yesterday had that little Janet sell-off in the volatility, and basically just testing levels here, but continuing bullishly. And how are tech stocks looking. Looks like that wants to try and put in a bullish engulfing as well. Oh, you were looking at the 60. I'm sitting here looking at the daily charts because it's bullish on the daily chart. I mean, it's a bullish engulfing on the daily chart as well. Oops. I'm not sure where that bullish engulfing was on the 60-minute. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what we were looking at there. Was that the 60-minute chart that you gave me? This one is 60 minutes? It looks like the daily to me. Read the next line, goofy goose. Oh, goofy goose. Got it. Okay, I was so confused. Okay, no worries. On daily too. Got it. Okay. Right. It looks bully. It looks bully. It looks bullish on the hourly. I'm sure they all do. They all have the same look pretty much, but has a little resistance. Oh, I mean, it looks pretty on the hourly because it's so curvy right in here. See, I like that curvy look. Curvy here as well. Cup and handle on the 60 and bullish on the. Okay, got it. I didn't get it. Is this your cup and handle in here? Yeah, hysterical. Spy tip. Nothing's wrong with curvy. And you know I'm going to say that. I'm all about the curvy. Sometimes I'm a little too curvy, but you know. I'm glad you like curvy. But yeah, we have this bullish engulfing on both the SPY and the diamonds now, so looking really good for the markets. My trade timer is definitely still green. Let me take a look over here and see how les positions are doing. Looking good, except for maybe JZO is still struggling, looks like, but it's holding up. It's okay. CRME is looking greener because I can see that on my portfolio. I mean, it's green. It's just sort of still in a range there. IMAX is holding up. Big is looking nice. GGAL's coming back nicely. Maxwell's just doing the same thing. SUNE looks so pretty. And is that also a TBF? Did we say that earlier? Yeah. Look at that. Nice. After the doji sandwich day before yesterday too. So I'm happy with what I've got on, and I'm gonna hold that. I have to say, you guys are trading key. That looks really, really nice. Really, really nice. All right. I'm hungry. It's after 1 o'clock, and I need to get some lunch. So if I guess it's just the two of you left, Mel left. JJ had a meeting. Coach is getting ready to go on a cruise. And sometimes I do, I'll set this up, try to set this up ahead of time, and I'll send out an email to all the members, and we'll get a couple more folks that'll come in from email if they have time, if I set it up ahead of time. This was more to just sort of get this Join Me working again, because I've been having troubles with it, and I've been avoiding dealing with it. So I'm actually glad. My pleasure, Lance, and thanks for asking about the webinars, because it kind of pushed me in gear to get it working again and call them and get my refund and all that stuff. So I'm glad you asked about it, because I've been putting it off for a few days. So it's good. It seems to have worked well. Oh, and did I record this? I don't know if I recorded this. Stop recording. Oh, this will be fun. We can maybe send it out to everybody. Okay.